Chapter 6. Review and Comparison of Selected Techniques. This chapter, as a review and comparison of the most common quantitative and qualitative methods used in project evaluations, contains a vast amount of information. Feel free to pause the presentation at any time you feel you need to, in order to take in the full content of each slide. Each type of method presents advantages and disadvantages. These comparisons will be presented in chart form at the end of the presentation for you to reference. Surveys are research methods used for collecting data from a predefined group of respondents to gain information and insight into various topics of interest. Surveys consist of two components: questions and responses. Factors for selecting best methods of survey include the intended audience, complexity of questions, resources, and schedule. Surveys are used when a researcher aims to describe or explain features of a very large group or multiple groups. This method may also be used to quickly gain general details about the population of interest to help prepare for a more focused, in-depth study. Interviews are designed to collect a richer source of information from a smaller number of people about attributes, behavior, preferences, feelings, attitudes, opinions, and knowledge. There are two types of interviews used in an evaluation research: structured interviews and in-depth interviews. Interviews can be used at any time in the evaluation process. Interviews are an appropriate method when there is a need to collect in-depth information on people's opinions, thoughts, experiences, and feelings. Social networking analysis is a relatively new way of gathering information that allows evaluators to see how members within a group or how groups within an organization are connected. It can also show how characteristics of group members may determine their groupings. SNAs can be used summatively or diagnostically. For example, you may want to do this at the end of an evaluation to quantify the interdependence of groups or individuals within a group. You can also do this as a diagnostic measure to understand the existent patterns that may be targeted or impacted by an intervention. Focus groups are like an in-depth interview, but conducted with a group. This is a way of utilizing the social interaction of members of a group to elicit more information than one may get in a one-on-one interview. These are best utilized when an evaluator wishes to understand the thoughts and reactions of group members within an organization, be it to get a diagnostic understanding of problems with a project's implementation, or a review of its success and weaknesses and a group's interpretation of the evaluation's findings. One must decide if a focus group will both garner the needed information and meet the necessary time, manpower, and budget constraints of the evaluation. Observations are used to gather first-hand information or data on the interventions, processes, or behaviors being evaluated. Observations allow evaluators to become aware of issues the participants are unaware of or are uncomfortable disclosing in an interview or focus group. Observations can be used in both formative and summative evaluations. Tests are a way to evaluate the knowledge of a subject and their ability to apply their knowledge in new contexts or situations. They give information that can be measured against a standard. There are three types of tests: norm-referenced, criterion-referenced, and proficiency tests. A test should be used when an evaluator wants to find information about the amount of knowledge or changes in knowledge that have occurred over time. Changes in test performance can indicate whether a project has been successful. Some qualitative methods for project evaluation are less common, but at times they are still considered beneficial to evaluators. Document studies use existing records to provide insights into a group that cannot be observed in any other way. These documents are written or recorded information that was not prepared for the purpose of the evaluation, and they include both public records and personal documents. Public records are internal or external sources of information. External records include census and vital statistic reports, county office records, newspaper archives, and local business records, and they help the observer to better understand project participants and make comparisons between groups or communities. Internal records include such items as student transcripts and records, historical accounts, mission statements, annual reports, budgets, and many other types of public records. These are useful in describing characteristics, strengths, and weaknesses, and they help evaluators understand an organization's resources, values, processes, priorities, and concerns without being subject to recall bias. Personal documents are first-person accounts of events and experiences. These types of documents include diaries, portfolios, photographs, artwork, schedules, scrapbooks, poetry, letters to the paper, and other such documents. Personal documents help the evaluator understand the participant's worldview and what he or she would communicate to the audience. A key informant is a person who has unique skills or professional background related to the issue being evaluated, and he or she is knowledgeable about the project's participants and or has access to other information of interest to the evaluator. These people may be specifically selected because of their unique skills, or they may volunteer or be nominated or elected to serve, or they may be chosen through a combination of these different areas. Traditional case studies rely on culture, society, and participant observer methods. They are usually descriptive examinations with a small number of sites, small towns, projects, individuals, schools, where the evaluator already plays a role in the life or site of the institution. Now let's consider some final review questions. Number 1. Consider this scenario. Your school has asked you to pilot a new blended classroom program that will utilize both student technology and teacher technology to teach standard lessons. You have a year to gather evidence to determine the efficacy of the program and its impact on student learning. What data collection methods would you utilize and why? Question 2. In your own experience, what data collection method do you have the most experience with? And would another data collection method enhance your interpretation of the evidence you've gathered, and how? Be sure to check out the link below to access a chart that can be used as a reference for all the types of data collection methods and the advantages and disadvantages of each.